Let's start with your first food memory.
Yeah.
This is one that's linked to mum
Yeah.
and heritage and culture.
Mm-hmm.
Mum's chicken curry with curry leaves, your go-to comfort dish.
Yeah, it is. I actually featured it in my second cookbook, The Edible City, because I hadn't featured any of her dishes, and especially with migrants and moving around, food and getting the ingredients and the food culture becomes very important to you and how you settle into a new place. So I thought I'd honour her with that recipe. Although, funnily enough, even though she gave me the recipe, when she saw it printed, she goes, I didn't say to put, half a teaspoon of coriander powder. I go, yes, you did. She goes, no, I would always never put that, and I would do half a teaspoon of this instead. So anyway, so it is very funny. There I was trying to honour her recipe, but then she was niggling over the coriander powder in it. But it's she said it would still taste delicious, which is fine. But that dish is special because it is a dish that is quite simple. So unlike a number of curries can have many, many ingredients and lots of, intricate steps, this recipe is really 5 or 8 curry powders and spices, and you just boil up chicken drumsticks, for an hour, which is pretty simple for an Indian dish. So it was something that you could do really quickly after school or when you came home from work. But having the key spices...
What are they?
...was the thing that made it special. So you fry it with some cinnamon and cardamom pods, and the fragrancy of those is just extraordinary to me. But the one that's hardest to get, that we all often struggled, particularly when we stayed in cold countries, were curry leaves. And I grow a curry leaf tree on my balcony, and I'm really proud of it. It's probably the proudest one I have, plant. Because for me, when I know I've got fresh curry leaves, I'm going to have a wonderful chicken curry based on that. So when we were in England, it was hard to get fresh curry leaves. When we were in Tasmania, even Zimbabwe, it was quite difficult. So when we stumbled across curry leaves, either fresh or frozen or wherever, then we would immediately think we were going to be able to make this chicken curry. So that just gets fried in the ghee with those spices, and then you put some turmeric, the problematic coriander, and a little bit of garam masala, and then you fry your chicken drumsticks, and then a couple of chopped tomatoes, and then some boiling water, and let that bubble away for an hour. So it's actually, quite simple. I think anyone can do it, particularly if you've always been intimidated by an Indian curry with so many ingredients. That's a really good entry-level dish to do. And it's the aromas of it that comes off it that I just associate with comfort and home, coming home from school and smelling those fragrances in our home and hearing the bubbles of the curry on the stove. They are just all aromas and sounds of home and togetherness and safety and comfort. So, yeah, that dish is a dish now that... a lot of people do make because it's in that book. And I will hear from people from very, very different, ethnic backgrounds who that has become their favourite dish in their family, which is just so lovely.
Let's move on to your second food memory. Italian meatballs,
Yeah.
the survival dish.
Yeah. Yeah, like university for most people is a survival. Like, how do you pay for everything? How do you feed yourself? First time away from home. And meatballs, I quickly discovered, were a very cost-effective way to survive. You could make a lot of them with cheap mince. You could freeze them, keep them in the fridge. They were nutritious, so they kept you going through the long nights of study. And it began my fascination with Italian food, actually. So despite my background with Indian and African spices and dishes... I love Italian food, and I've been to Italy 15, 16, 17 times, and I love the regionality that on one side of the river they'll do it like this, and on the other side on the mountain, no, we never put that ingredient there. And their passion, the Italians' passion for their food and how to do it just right. And so those meatballs, funnily enough, and my passion have taken me on so many food adventures. Like one of them was... I was cooking meatballs at an event, at a food event, and the Italian Tourist Bureau was there or something. and they said, asked me about what I loved about Italy so much, and I explained and how many times I'd been there. And they said, well, tell us when you're going for your next food thing and we'll support you and take you places. And it just so happened I was writing a couple of food pieces for Gourmet Traveller. And one of them I wanted to write, because I'd become fascinated from growing herbs on my garden, was pesto and the origin of an authentic pesto, because I was on this quest to make the best pesto in the world. And Gourmet said, that would be a great story. And the Italian tourist people helped me get across to Genoa, where pesto originated from, and took me to these glass houses all along the mountains of Genoa overlooking the sea, where they grew these particular Genovese basil leaves that you cannot grow anywhere other than those volcanic soils and those mountain tops. They've got a minty quality to them, and they're picked very small. And people would lie on planks suspended over the basil and hand cut leaves, and this they'd put in the centrifuge with the pecorino cheese from Sardinia, the local olive oil. Everything was all local and sun ripened, and to this day it's the best pesto I've ever had in my life. I've kept on doing it very similar to the way that they do it, but you just can't.
Do you pick your basil at right that
really,
moment?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't let the leaves get too big, and I make it in a mortar and pestle. Actually, I find that still keeps the green, that beautiful rich green colour of the pesto. And I have that on my meatballs and spaghetti. And so those meatballs have taken me all sorts of places. It had appeared in another. I was a contestant on MasterChef, Celebrity MasterChef, a few years ago, and I made the meatballs as my dish. Bummed out terribly. Couldn't cope with the pressure of cooking with all the lights and, Matt coming along and tasting while I'm cooking. It was very nerve-wracking. But the meatballs were included, and it was a big downloaded dish. And since then, everyone keeps requesting these meatballs, and they're nothing special compared to everyone.
Tell us, how do you make them?
But there's an ingredient in there that I gleaned from my makeup artist at SBS, and her mother makes these meatballs with ricotta cheese. And that's what keeps it creamy and fluffy and gives it that lightness that a great meatball should have. So I owe Rena's mother that little secret. And then the rest is a really good quality veal and pork mince with a little bit of beef, fresh garlic. I chop some onion in there as well, lots of fresh herbs, basil and parsley. And then breadcrumbs and an egg, and voila. But it's the ricotta cheese that really gives it a unique flavour. Your
last food memory is the Wayside Chapel Christmas lunch in the street, which is linked to your social cause. Yeah. Ending homelessness. Why is this food memory so important to you?
Wow. The Wayside Chapel, I've learnt so much there as well. And it's hard to believe that's just one street away from where I live. So many people, when they want to discover things, find their spirituality and work out what's going on, they go to an ashram or they climb a mountain or go on a trek to Nepal. And I'm lucky that the Wayside Chapel is one street away. That's what it is. You step into that building and every one of your, every stereotype you have, every assumption is just left at the door, because the people you meet and the people you interact with challenge everything, that people grow up thinking if you're homeless, this is something you've made happen because you didn't look after your money, or you didn't get a good job, or you didn't study well at school. And when you spend time with people who are experiencing homelessness, you know that nothing could be further than the truth, and that any one of us could be homeless with just a couple of steps happening, a relationship ending, losing your job, having a medical emergency. And any of us could be exactly there as well. And so places like the Wayside are so important, because I don't think our society really understands that. I think we blame victims too readily. And so many of these people have been victims of our situation. They've either come from difficult family backgrounds, or they've got an addiction, which isn't a crime, it's a health problem. Or, as we're all going through now, there's not enough housing basically around anyway, even for people who can afford to be housed. The prices are skyrocketing. So the homeless friends and visitors that I've made there have taught me a lot about...
You're an ambassador of the organisation, aren't you?
Yeah. Taught me a lot about the real causes of homelessness and how, as one of the wealthiest countries in the world, we could stop this overnight. We did during COVID. We took every rough sleeper off the streets of Sydney during COVID. So don't tell me it can't be done. We did it as a country, and we're all still here, and the country hasn't, been bankrupted by it. But I think because we help people who are homeless in our suburb, so they're people I see and, I pass by, I see on the bench. And so it really makes me, really proud that our community is proactive, whereas most communities around Australia don't have a way to look after their homeless people. And the thing I've also learned is how much you can learn from people who are homeless, and that just because you're homeless doesn't mean that you aren't an expert at something, or you don't know how, have skills that you can share. So we've built a rooftop vegetable garden at the Wayside that I helped build, and in the early stages was running gardening classes. The food we grow is used in the cafe downstairs, and that cafe then contributes to this beautiful Christmas meal that we share every year on the street. We close the street and we serve up to 800 people last year, and they are either housed or homeless. We don't ask people, you only have to be homeless to be there. It's about the community coming together. And just to see all those people together.
And what is being served at this street party?
The usual sort of Anglo Christmas, roast turkey and ham, all the trimmings. We get donations of beautiful fresh seafood and prawns. It is a meal for kings. It is stunning. But to see everyone in our community all sharing a meal and one long table together is just truly amazing.